So in my last video, I talked about my grandson, Andrew Ridgel, graduating. And so I want to do another post about a different aspect of his graduation. So this is Steve Ridgel saying, I thought a lot about generations and family legacy at his graduation. And I'll tell you what triggered it. His father, Joe Don, my son, was the commencement speaker. Not a word from the parents, but the featured speaker at their commencement. And he did a fantastic job, way better than I could have ever done. His son was proud. His other kids were proud. His wife, all his friends. He did a great job. Great mix of funny, but to the point and bold about how they ought to live. And the upshot of it was, here's your identity. And it's found in Jesus. Strong admonition to stay connected to a Christian community. Great job. Well, the reason I thought about it so much is it was 30 years ago that he graduated from high school. And I was his baccalaureate speaker. I wasn't good enough to be the commencement speaker, but I did do baccalaureate. And it was more of a parent thing because I knew a bunch of his friends and they asked me to do kind of a parent thing. But I was thinking about, and even in his speech, Joe Don was talking about your identity and growing up with two names, Joe Don. But he did mention that the reason his mom and I named him Joel Don was for his two granddads. And so he talked about the legacy. He said, I was born into a legacy of faith and hard work. And I thought that was a great segue into your identity stuff. And then I was thinking, boy, he did. He got that from my dad and Marcia's dad. And then I've had a gift. I'm a preacher, so I've spoken a lot and done a lot of those. I've been a commencement speaker at other places, his baccalaureate speaker, and I was thinking about that. And then watching Joe Don do that and thinking how gifted and how really good he was. And then I started thinking about Andrew graduating and thought it was not a stretch at all to see Andrew standing 30 years from now right where Joe Don is and talking to his kids as a commencement speaker and doing a great job. And Austin, my youngest that's going to be a sophomore in high school, our youngest grandchild, I could absolutely see Austin doing that kind of thing. And so I started thinking about generational things, the gift, the talent to be able to speak, and that is a gift, but the fact that all of us speak about Jesus, about Christian community, about living by faith. It doesn't have anything to do with being perfect. And our identity is not in how good we are. And Joe Don made that point really well, that our identity is not in the athletic, the academic achievements, not in our popularity. He talked about that he trained as a minister and then has been practicing law for over 20 years and all that. And he said, but none of that's his identity. Your success is not your identity. Your identity is always in Jesus. And I thought about that heritage from granddads through us, through Joe Don to his kids. And it really made me think a lot about the heritage and the legacy we pass down. And so it makes me, even though we're kind of getting toward the end of our run and we've handed off the baton, I also was thinking that every family has kind of their patriarch, the go-to guy, the guy that does the funerals, gives the advice, helps out with things. I've been that guy for some time. My dad kind of was that for all his side of the family. I've been that for both Marcia's family and my side of the family. Joe Don has now kind of got that for both sides of the family. And I'll see that Andrew will be that someday, the patriarch. And so it just made me think a lot about our heritage and our legacy and our faith.